your child tells you they can see an angel, do you say, "Yes, that's your guardian angel"? Or do you say, "No, sweetheart, there's nobody there"? What if there was a gentle middle ground? A way to support your child's intuition without dismissing what they're experiencing, but also without telling them what their experience means. Because sometimes the most powerful thing that we can do as mums is not give our children the answer. It's to help them learn how to listen to themselves. So, in today's episode, I'm sharing 7 gentle, practical ways you can nurture your child's natural intuition while keeping them grounded, emotionally safe, and completely free to develop their own understanding. And these are things you can begin using today. So, hello and welcome back to Rainbow Children of the Light. I'm Heather Bell. I'm a children's energy healer and channel, and I support spiritual mums raising sensitive, intuitive, and neurodivergent children to understand their children on a deeper level and create more peace, confidence, and connection within their families. So, in the previous episode, we talked about New Earth children and why so many spiritually aware, deeply sensitive, and intuitive children may be incarnating at this time. And today we're taking that conversation into the practical. Because if you're sitting there thinking, okay, Heather, I can see this sensitivity in my child, but how do I actually support it? So, if you're wondering that, this episode is for you. And I want to start with one really important idea. Our role is not to turn our children into little spiritual students. We're not trying to develop a psychic ability on a timetable. We're not trying to prove that they're intuitive, and we're certainly not trying to tell them what they should believe. We're simply creating a home where their inner world is allowed to exist, a home where they can explore, where they can ask questions, where they can notice what they feel, and where they learn that their own inner voice matters. So let's go through the 7 gentle ways you can begin doing that. So the first one is probably the simplest, but also one of the most powerful. Get curious instead of interpreting. If your child says, "Mummy, there's a man standing over there," you don't have to immediately say, "That's your spirit guide." And you also don't have to say, "No, there isn't." You can say, "Tell me more. What does he look like? How do you feel when you see him? Does he say anything? What happens when he's around?" Those questions are very different from questions like, "Is it grandpa? Is he an angel? Is he telling you something?" Because those questions begin putting our interpretation into the child's experience. And children want to connect with us. They want our approval. So if we're not careful, they can start looking to us for the right answer instead of listening to themselves. The goal here is not to interrogate them, it's simply just to create space. Sometimes they will tell you more, sometimes they'll say, "I don't know," and that's completely okay. Because you don't need a conclusion. You're just showing your child, "I take your experience seriously enough to listen." And that creates incredible trust. So the second practice is something I use with my own children, and that's children's oracle cards. See, I've got some here. They're gorgeous. This is My First Oracle by Gwenella Dudek. So the important part is not really the deck itself, it's how you use it. Often when we pull an oracle card and immediately turn it over and read the guidebook. But if we're trying to nurture intuition, I like to do the opposite. Let your child choose a card, place it in front of them, and before you tell them anything about what the card supposedly means, ask, "What do you notice? What do you think is happening in the picture? What feeling does the card give you? Where do you feel that in your body? What do you think this card wants you to know?" And then just being quiet, giving them the time and the space. One child might look at the picture and immediately tell you a whole story. Another might say, it feels happy. Or, I don't know. Again, there is no right or wrong answer. We're not testing their intuition, we're giving them the permission to practice listening inwardly. Then afterwards, if you want to, you can read the guidebook meaning together and see what resonates. But I love giving them that first opportunity to discover, what does this mean to me? Rather than, what am I supposed to think this means? And that's a skill that can serve them far beyond spirituality. It teaches self-trust. So the third practice is learning to recognize a body yes and a body no. For children, intuition often doesn't come through as a clear sentence in their head. It may be a feeling, a tightening, a sense of expansion, butterflies, warmth, or a heavy feeling. So, yeah, simply it's can come across as a I don't want to. Now, of course, every I don't want to isn't necessarily intuition. Sometimes they just don't want to brush their teeth. But helping children become aware of sensations in their body can build introspection and self awareness. You can make this really playful. You can ask a child to stand comfortably, take a breath, and then say something you both know is true. For example, my name is Heather, or use your child's name, your name is Sophie. Then pause and ask, what do you notice in your body? Do you feel more open, more relaxed? Do you feel yourself moving slightly forward? Does your tummy feel calm? Then say something obviously untrue. Your name is Banana. And ask again, what feels different? Maybe they just giggle, maybe they don't notice anything at all. And that's okay, because it's just a bit of curiosity. So it's not trying to, manufacture a response. We're just helping them become curious about the language of their own body. And, you can use this in everyday situations as well. How does your body feel when you think about going there? What happens in your tummy when you think about saying yes? What happens when you imagine saying no? Not to make every decision purely based on sensation, but to teach children that their body gives them information too. So the fourth tool is grounding. This is one of my favorites because children naturally understand visualization when we make it playful. A sensitive children can spend a lot of time, up here. They're thinking, they're imagining, feeling everything around them. So grounding helps bring them back into their body. There's a really simple tree grounding practice you can do together. Stand with both feet flat on the ground. Doing it in bare feet on the earth is even great. And start by stomping your feet. And, you can say, wake up feet, stamp, 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 stamp. Then imagine roots growing from the bottoms of your feet deep down into the earth. You might say, imagine you've got enormous tree roots coming out of your feet all the way down into the ground. Then stretch your arms up high like branches. Reach towards the sky. Wiggle your fingers like leaves. And say together, my roots go deep into the earth. My branches reach towards the sky. I am safe, I am grounded, I am here in my body. And then take a nice deep breath. You can make this like 30 seconds long. It doesn't have to be long at all. And it doesn't have to become an elaborate ritual. You can do it before school, after school is really good, before bed, after you've been out into a busy shopping centre, or anytime your child seems scattered or overwhelmed. And depending on your child's sensory preferences, you could do grounding through bare feet on the grass, hugging a tree, digging in the garden, playing with sand, or simply just sitting on the earth. Grounding doesn't have to be spiritual looking. Sometimes it's literally just getting back into the body. So the fifth one, it's a lot of fun and the kids absolutely love it. And I think adults could do this one more often too. It's shaking like a wet puppy. Sensitive kids can accumulate so much tension throughout the day, especially after school or busy environments, crowds, social interactions, sensory overload. And sometimes we try to talk children out of that sensation and that tension, but their body often needs movement. So instead of saying, calm down, try, let's shake it out. Shake your hands, shake your arms, shake your shoulders, shake one leg, shake the other leg, and quite often there's giggles with this because they're falling around. Shake your whole body and pretend you're a soaking wet puppy trying to shake off all the water. Shake, shake, shake. And you can make sound effects and, laugh and make it ridiculous. And that is part of why it works so beautifully with children, because it doesn't feel like Mum is making me regulate my nervous system now. It's play. And sometimes I like to frame it energetically as well. Let's shake off anything from today that we don't need to carry anymore. And then stop, take a breath, feel your feet, and notice. How does your body feel now? Again, we're teaching awareness. So, the sixth practice is a simple energetic clearing and protection. And I want to be very thoughtful about how we teach this to children, because I never want energetic protection to become the world is dangerous and there are bad energies everywhere. That creates fear. Instead, I prefer to frame energetic practices as let's help you feel like you again. So you might say, close your eyes and imagine a beautiful light above your head. It can be any color they like: gold, rainbow, white, pink. Choose their favorite color, whatever comes naturally. Now imagine that light gently washing down over your head, your face, your shoulders, your chest, your tummy, your legs, all the way to your feet. And anything from today that you don't need anymore can gently wash away. No drama, there's no fear. Then now imagine that beautiful light all around you like a soft bubble. And inside your bubble, you can feel calm, safe, and completely yourself. You could finish with only love and what is for my highest good is welcome in my space. Or use whatever language feels natural for your family. Again, this doesn't need to take 10 minutes. It might take 30 seconds. And I think that's one of the biggest things I want mums to hear. Spiritual practices for children can be light, they can be fun, they can be simple and playful. They don't have to become another thing you have to do and something that you have to do properly or in a particular order. It really is very intuitive, and feel what into your children enjoy. And number 7, there may be the most important practice in this entire episode, is just let them be children. If your child seems spiritually open, if they talk about angels, if they appear intuitive, if they pick up on energy, they often say extraordinary things. They don't need to turn that into their job. You don't need to develop their gifts quickly. You don't need to ask them to give you readings, or you don't need to channel information for them or for the family. You don't need to tell them that they have a massive mission to complete. Because even if we believe these children are here with incredible soul purposes, they're still children. They need mud, they need Lego, they need cuddles, they need to be silly. They need cartoons, they need friends, they just need ordinary days. They need that space to decide who they are. And their intuitive awareness can unfold naturally alongside that. It doesn't need to replace childhood. I think sometimes in spiritual communities, we can become so excited when we see a child displaying something extraordinary that we accidentally put a weight on them. And I don't think that's what these children need. They don't need us to tell them, or, you're here to save the earth. They need us to say, I love you for who you are. I trust you. I'm here for you. Tell me about what you're experiencing. And sometimes it's just go outside and play, be in nature, enjoy. So if you're thinking, this all sounds lovely, but how do I actually fit this into family life? Here's how simple it can be. After school, you come home, have something to eat, shake like a wet puppy, stamp the feet on the ground, and maybe ask, is there anything from today you want to let go of? And at bedtime, a quick light clearing visualization, imagining that protective bubble. I have my energetic bedtime ritual, which I do with my kids every night. I'll put the link for that below. It's just a free resource that I find very powerful. But yeah, you can ask, was there anything interesting you noticed today? Sometimes they'll say no, sometimes they'll say yes. Whatever comes, that's fine. We're just simply keeping the door open. And, perhaps once or twice a week, you can pull an oracle card together if you've got the time, if you feel it's the right moment. That's it. It can fit naturally around childhood rather than becoming a separate spiritual curriculum. And for mums raising neurodivergent children, I want to add something important. Every child is different. A visualization that feels beautiful to one child might feel impossible or frustrating to another. A child may not be able to describe what they feel inside their body. Another might find stomping regulating. Another might absolutely hate it. One child might love the oracle cards. Another wants absolutely nothing to do with them. So, you don't have to turn any of these into a requirement. Just follow your own child's nervous system, follow their interests, follow their cues. If a practice creates more tension, we don't need to force it because it's good for them. The most intuitive thing we can do sometimes is notice this isn't the right tool for this child today. Sometimes, though, you may still feel like there's more going on for your child. Maybe they're describing experiences you can't quite make sense of. Maybe their energy seems very unsettled. They're not, in a really good space. Maybe you feel like you're seeing one piece of a much bigger picture, and you simply want another layer of understanding. That's where my children's rainbow recalibration sessions can offer personalized support. A rainbow recalibration allows me to connect with your child's energetic field and work through what presents through the session. I look at what's showing up energetically, support clearing and recalibration when needed, and receive channeled guidance that can help give you another perspective on the questions you have around your child. It's never about labeling your child, and it's never about deciding for them what they're experiencing. It's just simply another layer of support for the mum who is thinking, I want to understand my child more deeply. You'll find more information below if that feels supportive for you and your family. So let's just quickly recap the 7 ways you can nurture your child's intuition without telling them what to believe. So the first one, get curious instead of interpreting. The tell me more, those 3 simple words. Number 2, use children's oracle cards and let them interpret first. Number 3, help them notice their body yes and body no. Number 4, ground through the tree visualization. 5, shake like a wet puppy. Number 6, use simple clearing and protective light practices without creating fear. And 7, let them be children. And if there's one thing I really want you to remember today, it's this. Your child's intuition doesn't need to be developed by force. It needs space to unfold. You don't have to teach them what they're supposed to see. You don't need to tell them what every experience means. You don't need to have all of the answers. You can simply give them the safety to explore. The language you notice, the freedom to trust themselves, and perhaps that is one of the greatest gifts we can give these new earth children. It's not a roadmap for what they're supposed to become or what we feel they should be doing, but a childhood where they never had to disconnect from who they already were. If this episode was helpful, I'd love for you to leave me a comment and, tell me which of the 7 practices would your child enjoy the most. And if you know another spiritual mum raising a sensitive or intuitive child, share this episode with her too. So thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you in the next episode. Sending so much love to you and your little one.